then I'm going to ask for another question from the floor because I think somebody's just taken another question over.
Who's starting? Do you want me to start? Yeah, I'll take that. I was expecting this. So yeah, I am a Christian. I'm not going to hide away from that fact. But I've been working, say, for example, with Interfaith all year. The Interfaith Forum is something I've set up. It's something I'm driving through. So that just shows that I can work with other faiths as well as working and representing the views, like I've already said when we answered the question the first time.
I'm a Catholic, I'm a chair of a Labour Society, I'm proud of both. However, both of those will not impact my impact as president. I will still be involved with the Labour Party and I make no bones about that. However, my role as president is to represent all students that are within this union, and that won't, my personal affiliations and what I do outside of this union will not impact what I do, and I think that's what I answered before.
Yeah, as I said when I answered my other questions, I have no political preference. I've not been involved in the university in any political way. I'm not really swinging towards any religious side. But so I think that in itself is impartiality. But I don't think there's anything wrong with the other candidates having an affiliation with a particular kind of policy or religion. I think that just enhances their commitment and their passion to the students' union and to the students.
Okay, so basically everybody's an individual. Everyone's entitled to their own views, opinions, critiques, whatever. I'm the president of the International Society, so this means that we're international. It's not just one group. It's all cultures, languages. Okay.
Thank you. I will take one further question. Rennie? Yeah?
Hi, for those of you who don't know, I'm the current president of the Students' Union. There's been a bit of bashing about the Student Affairs Committee during these hustings, but I'm not too fast. But one thing that I want to ask the presidential candidates is how do you plan to balance over the next year the sort of need to be sometimes behind a desk, answering emails, writing reports, replying to students, and also being out and about speaking to the student body? Because I think that if I could do this year over again, I'd go out and I'd speak to students more. But sometimes the demands of on you as a student union president makes that very difficult. So I'd like to know how you think that you'd be able to bridge that gap. Sometimes people talk about an us and them mentality with the student union president and the student affairs committee. I don't think that's the case, but I do think that the student affairs committee could do more. I feel like we could have done more this year to go out and talk to students, and I'd love to know how you think that could happen. I'm done now.
So the question is,
how are you going to balance the demands of the job with engaging with the membership of the union?
Thank you.
Oh. Well, for me, engaging with the students is my #1 priority. I want to know what everybody else thinks. It's not just about me, it's about everybody else. So it's everyone first, basically. Also, I've had a similar role, and I'm good at managing my time.
Oh, first of all, I'd like to say that I think the Student Affairs Committee this year have done a fantastic job. Every time that I've come into contact with them, they've always been brilliant. And every time that I've spoken to a student in my role as a course rep, they've always spoken very highly of the Spark Office at the moment. I think balancing time is always a difficulty in any role, but working as the student union president, I think it's important to make sure that you're. Sorry.
I understand exactly where Rennie's coming from because I was the campaigns officer a couple of years ago, and I understand that work balance is really hard. But I think it's important that engaging with students, but as president, the job is also engaging with the university and making sure that the views you get. So you do have to balance that really well. And having the experience of being on the SAC before, I think I know that balance. I've done the job in a different role, incidentally, but I understand what that balance needs, having done it before. Thank you.
Thanks for asking. I've used my head on this issue. I believe in the art of delegation, and I also believe passionately about volunteers within the union. I'd like to make up a team to be acting on my behalf and working with students, whilst at the same time setting up this mobile SAC, which is in my manifesto, which doesn't always have to be staffed. You can have comment boxes, emails, and I'd like to promote that further, making sure that my office hours are as accessible as me actually walking around the streets and campus.
Okay. That concludes the hustings for President, and I'd like you all to give them a round of applause. It also concludes the hustings for the whole event. I'd like to give a last round of applause to everybody who's attended, because you must be numb on those seats by now. Just a quick update. As of this moment, there are 1,120 votes that have been cast. So we're well on target to make this the biggest election ever. And it is close. In some of those contested seats,
That's the votes in for, that's the hustings for the presidential candidate and the hustings for everything else. So I'm still here with Dave and with Renee. Renee first, how do you think that went?
I thought that went really interesting. I was a bit thrown by some of that last question from a member from the floor, a bit thrown. And I think that when I asked the candidates how they think they would balance the demands of the job with engaging with students, it's lovely to think that students will come first in this job, because that's why you go for the position, that's why you get elected. But actually, sometimes the demands of the job are that. Sometimes you have to cancel a meet with a student. It's not a nice thing to do, but sometimes you have to do it. There are some priorities, for example, meetings with the VC, that you have to bump other things for. I think that there are some strong candidates in that race, some not so strong candidates, and I'm looking forward to seeing the results.
Yeah, I'd agree. I don't think any candidate, and I think it's the truth of the two of us here. No candidate realises until sort of not even day one of the job, sort of until September, quite literally how much you have to do. It's the amount of emails you get bombarded with, phone calls and that, and then you've got to try and go out to students. You've got to try. It's very, very demanding, and there's only one of you. There's only one of you for each position, so it's very, very difficult. I think some of them have a good idea about what's involved, but it won't hit them. Whoever wins, it won't hit them until 2.5 months down the line. I said the question from the floor was interesting. I think that's the first time I've ever heard the returning officer get the loudest cheer of the night. But I mean, yeah, I think the being involved in a society or is it doesn't make a difference, and it shouldn't make a difference, because no matter where your allegiances have been in the past, you have to represent all students. And students, there's a lot of students, and they've got many opinions. They come from many backgrounds with many religions, and if you can't represent them all, then you're not doing your job at the end of the day.
I'd add, there's a difference between being political with a big P and a political with a small p. Now, I'm a highly political student union president. I was before I ran for the position. I used to chair a political society. I've been incredibly vocal whilst doing this job. The building hasn't fallen down. Nobody's left the union because of it. I have not spontaneously combusted. It's not an issue. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter what political stripe you come from, as long as you know in your heart the right decisions that need to be made for students. I've been out and out feminist during my time being student union president, which many people disagree with, which I couldn't even imagine why, because it's all about equality. But at the end of the day, sometimes people disagree with me, sometimes I disagree with students, but as long as I'm making the right decisions for students when I'm representing them with the university, that's what counts. No one will die if a student union president is political.
Of course, thank you for that. It's been a long day. We've got through them all. As the media officer running all the, not just the PSTV who's here, but we've got other debates in the week, and obviously Pluto. How do you think it's gone?
Oh, I think it's gone really, really well. And say there's a lot of people that behind the scenes that you haven't seen apart from us three. Where I said, and everyone that's got involved, a big well done to everyone and a big thank you. We've had photographers, we've had for Pluto, we've had reporters for Pluto that have been tweeting and covering the whole election live, the whole hustings live all the evening, and everyone is still working. We've got to pack it all up at the end. So everyone's done a really, really good job. I said tomorrow we've got more debates coming up. We've got each of the SACs having their own debate over the next 3 days on Frequency Radio, and that's going to be interesting because it's going to allow them to sort of sort of have a level sort of debate amongst themselves, amongst policy, which it can't happen here tonight purely because of time constraints. But that will be really, really interesting. And then it's only 8 days until we know who's our successors. Thinking along that, I mean, what's been weird tonight is that we're already being talked about in the past tense. We're still here. We've got another 3 months to go yet. So I think candidates need to be aware that we're not gone yet. But I think it's been a really, really good evening. It's been really interesting. Some positions have been more clued up than others. Some candidates have been more clued up than others. That's always to be expected. And I think the people will leave here tonight having a much clearer idea of who they're going to vote for in each of the positions. And that's the aim of the event. I mean, so this evening in the voting will be really interesting, and I think we'll have an idea tomorrow of who, not that we'll know, but there'll be an idea of who will be in the lead for each of the positions.
Rennie, you've been quite active on Twitter. What have you made of the whole the coverage and everything else?
Well, I think this is the first time that this hustings have been live streamed, and I think actually the live streaming of the hustings of this entire event was Dave's idea. He came up with it before Christmas, and it's actually really amazing to see it happen in the flesh. PSTV sometimes gets knocked, but I think that what we've seen today is that with volunteers and with Dave's leadership, some amazing things can happen. I think that today we've seen a really good sort of event happen off the back of full-time paid staff and also a lot of student volunteers, so that's excellent. In terms of my views on Twitter, those are the things that I would have shouted out if I was allowed to say, but unfortunately you've got to be civil at these things, don't you? I think that, to echo Dave, I think that there was some positions where there was a broad understanding of the issues, some positions where there was very little research done. I mean, at the end of the day, some people are campaigning here for a full-time job for 1 year. Do your research. Do you know what I mean? If you're going to go and lock yourself into a contract for a year, do your research so you know exactly what you're going into. That's all I'm saying. I don't think it's controversial to say that. I don't. But ultimately, I've had a great day. It's been an interesting evening, and I'm really looking forward to the results now. And I hope the students make the right choice for them to lead their union.
Okay, and that's pretty much it for tonight. Tomorrow, Thursday and Friday, we've got the debates on frequency. Tomorrow will be campaigns and media. Campaigns will be from 5 till 5:30, and then media will be from 5:30 till 6 o'clock. On Thursday, we've got education and APO. APO will be from 6 till 6:30 and 5 till 5:30, sorry, and education will be from 5 till 30 till 6. Apologies, it's been a long day. And then on Friday afternoon, you've got the big one. That'll be a full hour from 3 till 4. That's the 4 presidential candidates. I've been Robert Watson. I've been with Dave and Rennie. Thank you very much.